Hi, welcome to Together We Feel Women's Panel. Today we're talking about being a single mom. You'll notice that there is no panelist here with me today, which I thought was ironic because it is an example of the fact that single moms literally have no time. If we try to do it in the morning, they're getting themselves ready. They're getting their kids out the door to school. They're getting themselves to work. Many of them are also utilizing that early time in the morning before their kids get up to do something for themselves, whether it's quiet time, exercise, going for a walk, whatever it is, they're utilizing that time. And in the evening, they're getting home, they're making dinner, they're running kids to practice or piano lessons or dance or theater, they're helping with homework, they're trying to make sure everybody gets to bed and is ready to go tomorrow. So it's actually kind of sort of ironically perfect that it worked out that no one could join me so I could speak to this fact of the time it takes. And so I'm going to spend a little time with you today talking about the numbers that are out there, not only in the US, but worldwide, and talk about if you're a single mom or no single moms, some little things that you can put into play to either help yourself if you're the single mom or support the single moms in your life. This will be a shorter than normal because it's just me, but I still wanted to get on here and talk about this because it's such an important topic that impacts so many women and their ability to live their healthiest, most authentic, feel-filled life. So I'm going to start with some numbers, and I'm going to start with the numbers in the US because that's where I live and where I know the most women. And then we'll get to some worldwide numbers too, because if you've been with me for a while, you know that I feature women from all over the world, and I think it's important to talk about both. As of 2023-24, there were approximately 7.3 to 10.9 million single mother households in the US, depending on the data source and definition of household. These households represent over 80% of all single parent families in the country, with about 19 to 22 million children under 18 living with a single mother. Key statistics regarding single mothers in the US include growing trend. The number of families with a single mother has grown, with 40% of all babies in the US born to single moms in 2022. Demographics. While single parenthood spans all demographics, it is highly prevalent across different race ethnicity groups. No matter where you come from, there is higher and lower numbers, but we're not going to break those down today. We're going to talk about, because we could go a lot of different avenues, and I am not the expert on all the avenues of this. So I don't want to speak on an area any more so than I already am, that I'm not an expert. I want to give numbers for us to think about and some resources that will hopefully feel supportive. Economic status. Single mother households often face economic hardships, with nearly 30% living below the poverty line. This just feeds my theory on women not being paid what they're worth. We have a huge issue with that in our culture, in society. We talk about those numbers regularly. And we also have that issue of women being asked to give of themselves, whether it's, hey, come talk at my women's empowerment retreat, come talk at my ministry for women this weekend. I'd love to have you share your resources. Most of the time, when you're asked as a woman to do those things, they're not paying you for that. They expect and want you to come for free with the idea that, oh, you'll get to share your resources. That's not the same as actually being paid for what you're worth. And that hits single mothers even harder. You're asking them for time they don't have much of in the first place to give to your situation. And sure, there's some fellowship and things involved that I'm sure they benefit from. But it's that bigger problem of Women, I really want you to think about when you ask other women to participate in something with you, if you're asking them to share of a talent or gift or resource they have, and I'm not talking about PTO and nonprofits where everybody's already volunteering. I'm talking about that leadership conference you want them to speak at or do a workshop at, or that women's retreat weekend or whatever. I want you to think about those kinds of things. And if we're ever going to change this narrative around women being paid with their worth, it's got to start with us women stopping asking each other to work without pay. And this is part of a broader conversation that I'm really going to be hitting on in 2026 because it's a huge problem. But in the topic of single motherhood, it hits even harder. Historical context. The percentage of children living in single parent households has risen from 9% in 1960 to 25% in 2023. Now, I think this historical context piece is interesting because I think in 1960, in 1960 and these even 70s and 80s and into the 90s, things like divorce were very frowned upon. And I think what we've seen in recent years is women no longer willing to stay in abusive situations for the sake of the children. Women no longer willing to stay in situations where the parents are fighting all the time. And what the children are learning about relationships is not healthy. And it's actually better for the children to see the mom choose herself or the parents choose their overall well-being, knowing that they can provide healthier context, even if they're co-parenting as single parents. So I think that has something to do with that number as well. And that's part of a broader conversation. These are just statistics that I want to share to just get out to you the numbers that are out there and why it's so important to support your single moms and offer and share resources for them. For the world, globally, there are over 101.3 million mothers living alone with their children, a figure that is rising, including women in extended households. The number is likely much higher, and that's true for all of these numbers. These are just the numbers that are getting reported. We all know that these numbers, that's the lowest that they are, and they're higher than what we're hearing. The number is The number is likely much higher, with roughly 8% of all households globally headed by a single parent, 84% of which are mothers. Key details regarding the global single motherhood include regional differences. Single motherhood is not evenly distributed. About 32% of women in sub-Saharan Africa and 24% in Latin America are unmarried with children in their household, compared to lower rates elsewhere. Regional data, the U.S. has one of the highest rates, with nearly 25% of children living with a single parent. Invisible data, many single mothers are undercounted in official statistics because they live in extended households rather than alone, making their specific vulnerabilities invisible to policymakers. Maybe they've moved in with their mom or an aunt or a sister or a best friend. I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play here. Single mother households often face higher risk of poverty and economic hardship, going back to that women not being paid the worth of their work, the worth of their time, where they should be paid. The lack of care and empathy and consideration that exist for women that are dealing with different health things than men don't deal with, that they just don't have happen. The lack of flexibility that exists to accommodate and help and support women when they're experiencing these different challenges. The lack of quality health care to make sure women have what they need so they're not impacted negatively, so that they can work when some of these things come up health-wise, whether it's periods, pregnancy, menopause, perimenopause, whatever the case may be, whether it's you're going through infertility treatments, whether it's a miscarriage. There's so many things that come into play here that we don't have good plans for women, that we've designed the world according to men and have not considered women in the equation when these things come up. So I thought those stats were important and relative. I'll put the links to those in the show notes so that you all have them. In terms of what I have to offer today, I think I just want to remind everyone to be mindful of the single moms in your life, ways that you can support them, whether that's a carpool, whether that's remembering, hey, she's a single mom. I'm going to not assume she's got the time to do X, Y, and Z. Or I'm going to not assume I know what she needs. I'm going to ask her, hey, what feels supportive to you? I think too, I'm saying a lot of ums today because I'm thinking as I'm going through this. One of the things from my framework, the FEEL framework, that I want to offer out there to single moms is it is even more imperative because you don't have a partner to help you on a daily basis, that you are taking care of yourself because you deserve it and your kids deserve to have someone healthy, present, rested, mindful. It is not selfish to prioritize you. I had a great recording with a single mom in season 1, a friend of mine that I had got to meet when I was living in Lubbock, Texas. And she talked about how the fact that she and her kids were old enough to do this. So some of this has to do with age. But her kids were all school aged, and they understood that when they got home from school and mom drove into the driveway, that she was going to take 15 to 30 minutes by herself to reset. And it depended on each day what she needed, how stressful her day at work was, how much sleep she got the night before. Sometimes it was going to be 15 to 30 minutes of quiet. Sometimes she was going to stay in the garage for that. And sometimes she was going to get out of her car and go into the bedroom. But she was going to have 15 to 30 minutes of quiet or her favorite music or her favorite podcast or something that lifted her up or a dance party or a nap. But it was going to be something that allowed her to reset and refresh before she went into the evening of making the meal for dinner, of helping with the homework, of getting kids to practice, of the evening meeting she might have for her own work or her own nonprofit that she headed up, whatever it was. But that 15 to 30 minutes was hers, and the kids understood it. And if she came into the house when they heard her pull up, they might have said hi, but they acted as if she wasn't home yet and let her go to her room. And she clearly communicated that. And it took a little bit for the kids to get used to it, but she stayed with it. She stayed consistent. If you've got younger children, this can be more difficult. So when the kids take a nap, you don't have to clean the house. Now, if it's driving you crazy, and for some people that are very organized, it fills their cup to clean some things. It really makes them feel better. But it's okay if it doesn't. And it's okay if you need to take a nap or if you need to step outside on the deck and sit there for 10 minutes and breathe in the fresh air. I just want you to make sure that you are taking 5 to 30 minutes for yourself every day. And you are taking it. This PDF is going to be in the show notes, and it's identify 5 activities that nourish you. Identify 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months. And I'm not going to give you the third one. You can do the third one if you want to. I'm just going to give you those 2. Because I want you to make that list and then figure out how to incorporate that. And if you don't have a current way to incorporate that, who can you call on to ask for help? It is okay to ask for help. There are people out there that want to help you. It does not mean you're weak or less capable. It is okay. And everyone wins. Again, going back to what I said earlier, when you take the time to fill your cup, you're more pleasant, you're more present, you're more mindful and aware and with the people that you're working with, the people that you're taking care of, whoever it is, and you are valuable and worthy, and your worth does not ebb and flow based on how much you do every day and all the titles and roles you hold. You're valuable because you exist. And so figuring out, do I have a neighbor? Do I have a family member, a friend, the parent that I co-parent with, that I can work out something with, that allows me that 5 to 30 minutes every day that's just for me? And if you got more you can do, great. And with those 5 activities that nourish you, finding places and spaces to make sure those are in. The second thing I'm going to give you is no period. It is okay to say no period when people ask something of you. If you do not have the capacity, if it doesn't align with the care that you need to give your children and the time you need to give to the work, to earn the money, to buy the groceries and buy the clothes and the school supplies and all those things, and if it doesn't fit into one of those activities that nourish you, if it's not something that's going to fill your cup, you get to say no, period. And if they ask, I was like, I don't have the capacity. And if you've done it before, well, I've determined that was draining me more than it was filling me up, and creating a space where I was less present for myself and for my family and for my work, and to give myself time to refill my cup and breathe. So thank you for asking. That's going to have to be a no, period. And if they're not okay with that, then that might give you an indication of how much time you should be giving or investing in that relationship. So no, period. So I want you to look at that PDF, identify those 5 activities that nourish you, think about how you want to feel the next 6 months, and how those activities that nourish you can help you get there, who you need to call and ask for support to help you get there. Asking for help is good. And if someone calls and asks you for help, make sure that you have the space for it, because we need to make sure we have the space to help people. If you're already maxed out, then it might be hey, I need to look at my calendar. Maybe there's something else you can clear out so you can be available for that single mom friend or relative right now that you maybe can put on the back burner, but it can't be yourself. No abandoning ourselves here, whether we're the one asking for help or whether we're the one being asked for help. No more abandoning ourselves as women. We're not doing that. That's not part of the paradigm. We're in our schedules first. We're making sure we get those needs met so we can be present. But ask, when they ask you for help for that specific thing, being willing to listen. And again, sometimes they'll ask me like, no, I can't do that, but I can do that. If they don't ask you for that, don't offer it up. Say something like, there is something else I could possibly do. Would you like to hear about that? Just don't assume that that's going to be the thing, if that makes sense. So for the single moms out there, activities that nourish you, 5 to 30 minutes a day, 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months, and how you're going to get the support and help to do that so you can be present and rested and available. And no, period. No, period. It's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to ask for help. I hope you found these resources supportive. The link to that PDF with those things, those reminders on it, are going to be in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening today. Also, the links on those statistics are there. I hope you found this helpful. To all my single moms out there, we see you, we admire you. I have not been a single mom. I had a period in my life where my husband traveled a lot. So I was a single mom a few days a week, and that felt like a lot. So I can't even imagine what it feels like to be that way 24/7. So make sure you're prioritizing you, and hopefully these resources are supportive. Take good care of yourselves. We'll be back next week with a Come As You Are panel. Have a great week.